Welcome to Chapter 20, everybody. Let's begin. Danny. The luau began right after I took my seat. I spotted Noah being led away by security and Lynette. I felt bad for him, but his and Ilio's relationship had been over for a year. It had ended badly, too. So what did Noah want, or expect? I hoped he would take the hint and leave Ilio alone, and Johnny. Mia took over, singing one of her biggest hits, a cappella, only accompanied by the drums. She was good. The girls were beyond cheering when she was done. After all, they had just had their own private concert. As she passed me heading back to her seat, I said, "Thanks for doing this." It was my pleasure. She didn't have to share the luau, but when she found out about it, she almost volunteered. I didn't know she was going to sing until she started singing. "So how do you know Danny?" Shani asked. The whole family leaned in to listen, even Billy. "He's my yoga teacher." I tried not to smile as I saw the looks on their faces. My street cred just went up 1,000 points. A light wind blew through the palm fronds, and the sun set in gold and amber pools of light. The ocean sparkled, the waves danced, and a couple of surfers caught a wave. Everybody danced, yelled, the food was amazing, but I only had until Sunday. The show went perfectly. The hula dancers had fun, drawing everyone at the table into their dance, even Johnny. At the end came the fire dancing. 2 full crews threw the batons back and forth, flaming acrobatic tricks, jumping, chanting. Then Ilio took center stage. He opened with a vertical toss, and as it spun, he did some move, then it fell and he caught it. The drums kicked in. Mauricio joined, and the 2 of them danced, jumped, and tossed the batons. Then they did this juggling move, tossing the batons back and forth between them. Not 2 batons, or 4, but 6. I was on my feet cheering. Billy was whistling. Johnny only stared, mouth opened. The guys on stage did some kind of chant, and Ilio and Mauricio spun their batons in unison. I don't think Ilio's family had seen him perform before. They had seen him practice, but nothing like this. It was a thing of beauty. There were other dancers, but I only stared at Ilio. Red skirt thing, wild yelling. The baton was fury of fire in motion. He tossed it, caught it, did jumps, balanced it, threw it. Ilio was showing off. Even I hadn't seen some of these moves. Then it was over, but not really. Mauricio took Mia, Ilio took me, and helped us spin the batons. I'm glad Ilio had shown me a couple of things, so I didn't make a fool of myself. Mia was a natural. Ilio stood behind me, hands over mine, helping me spin the thing. "Say it, say it, say it," Billy and the Smith family chanted. I didn't know what they meant. Ilio did. "Babe." I turned around, and it was magic. The lights, the fire, the warmth of his skin, the cocky way he smiled. I was in heaven. Our kiss was warm and breathy. The sunset outlined him, our fingers intertwined around the baton, and as we broke apart, Ilio whispered, "Nice shorts." I didn't have time to say anything back, because the drums started. The girls came back out for a final number, and Ilio coached me on the final dance. We all joined in, even Grammy. Then it ended. Ilio held me as he closed the luau. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do things in Hawaii. Good night and aloha. The audience stood, clapping and cheering. Billy whistled. Sheer pandemonium. We all went over and congratulated everyone. Johnny even spoke to one of the hula girls. Success. Everyone was happy, even me. Saturday, June 28th. Ilio. 3 a.m. The house was quiet, except for the odd creak of Johnny's chair. Reading, I suppose. Danny's last day. I had been thinking about this during the luau, during the cleanup, and during the drive home. Somehow, I didn't think Danny should know what I had decided, or how scared it made me feel. Even Billy didn't know. I had come to a decision, and that terrified me. I didn't know if I was ready for it, or if even Danny was, but I knew what I wanted to do. Pushing Daniel a little to one side, I crawled off the mattress. Danny stirred. "What time is it?" "I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be back in a couple of minutes." I didn't lie. I had to use the bathroom. When I came back, I grabbed my wallet, keys, and a shirt. Johnny came out of his room and followed. "We need to talk." He followed me out to the car. "Come on." I climbed into the driver's seat. He got into the passenger seat. We drove in the empty streets for 2 minutes before he said something. "Where are you going?" "Walmart." "Why Walmart?" "They're open 24 hours a day." We passed an all-night diner, a closed donut shop, and some marquee with a hula girl dancing in neon lights. "Welcome to Hawaii." "Did you have fun tonight?" I asked, hoping to break the ice. "Sure." "Get a phone number?" Johnny shook his head and stared out the window. "No." I waited. Sometimes Johnny needed the silence to process what he's going to say. He's not like Billy, who comes up with something as fast as you can blink, or Danny, who just has a knack to keep people talking. Johnny needs space. We had almost arrived at Walmart when Johnny spoke again. "I know he was only using me to get at you, but it was nice." Noah does that. Turns on the charm when he wants something, turns it off when he gets it. I thought he was my friend. Sometimes I wish I were Barney. I'm no good at conversations like this. Somehow, I'll say the wrong thing, or laugh, or ruin it. My best defense is to keep my mouth shut. I thought Danny had been lying to us. And now? I am really sorry about his head. It's okay, we survived. I pulled into a parking space and got out. Johnny followed. We walked in, over to the pharmacy, and I stopped and looked over an aisle. Johnny looked over my shoulder at what I was picking up, and he said, "Oh." We picked up a couple more things, purchased them, and headed out to the car. "I took care of Timmy when you were at work, when it was only me at home." We had never talked about it, but I suspected as much. "Thank you." Another long pause as we climbed in and went out to the road. He stared out the window, and I drove, and waited. He wanted to say something, but was too afraid to say it, I guess. So I started. "What did you think of the Monarch?" "It was nice, if you like that sort of style, I guess." "It was just off of one of those beaches where I poured out Timmy's ashes. That's how I met Danny." "Why didn't you invite me? I would have come." "I didn't think you liked Timmy." We passed through 2 intersections before either of us spoke again. I was just mad, I guess. We drove the rest of the way in silence. I didn't know what to say. I guess neither did he. A light rain drifted around us, lasting only 10 minutes. As we pulled onto our street, Danny was sitting on the stairs waiting for us. I turned to Johnny and wondered what Danny or Barney would say. Either of them could talk about anything. Me? Sometimes I wondered. "Would you like to see the spot sometime?" "Sure." I took it one weird step further. "I know we're not really close. We disagree about everything. But you're still my brother. I love you." I don't think I'd ever said that to him before. Maybe Danny's right. Death has a way of making you see things differently. I put the purchases in the trunk, next to the blanket I kept there for when I went to my favorite spot, and walked up to Danny. Johnny got out and walked past us, staring at me as if I had just grown a third arm. First Danny last night forgiving him, then me telling him I loved him. We must have gone to an alternate dimension. He went inside and disappeared down the hall. "Everything all right?" Danny asked. Johnny just needed to talk. The problem is, I still don't know what he was trying to say. Danny. I don't know what Johnny said, but whatever it was, Ilio stayed awake the rest of the night. I did too. I couldn't sleep because it was my last day. After this weekend, would I ever see Ilio again? We lay next to each other, both lost in our own heads. I looked over at his face. He was staring at the ceiling, breathing deeply, evenly. The warmth of his body drew me in closer, and I wanted to trace the edges of the wolf tattoo. I resisted. We hadn't become close enough in our relationship to even attempt that. It grew lighter outside. Somewhere a garage door opened. I wanted to think about us, about where we could go, about how 2 people so far apart could stay in love. Were we in love? Maybe it was a fling, and both of us would get over it in a couple of months. The toilet flushed in the back, and the door opened. Light spilled into the corridor, shut off, and a form appeared and sat on the couch. I couldn't tell who it was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Grammy. It seemed taller. "You can't sleep either?" Ilio whispered. "Too much to think about," I whispered back. Ilio adjusted position, wrapping his arm around me. How's your head?" I reached up and gently felt the bump. It had gone down a lot. Better. I think we both knew this day was coming. I don't know how Ilio felt about it, but I dreaded it almost as much as tomorrow, my last day. The shadow got up and went into the kitchen. The tap came on and water filled a glass. The shadow came around the corner and went into Johnny's room. About 6, I went outside and started my routine. The sun had yet to crest over the horizon, but the sky had changed to a wonderful shade of crimson and orange. A light mist was in the air. It had probably rained last night. Rain was still a new experience. Even doing my yoga in the slightly wet grass was fun. Ilio came out carrying 2 cups of coffee, walked over and handed one to me. "I've been banished outside because Mom and Grammy took over the kitchen. Nice morning for it." We sat next to each other on the steps, sipping our coffee. I lightly scratched his back, and we watched the sky change from crimson to scarlet to a fiery red. It died down soon after to orange and silver. Seeing a Hawaiian sunrise is a spiritual experience. "Are you ready for today?" Ilio asked. "No. You?" "Definitely not." Ilio laid his head on my shoulder. New experience, but I liked it. I placed my arm around him and lay my head on his. "I don't want this day to start, because if it does, don't say it." I never finished my routine that morning. Our cups ran out, but the endless Hawaiian sky did not. No matter the cloud formation, I kept seeing a plane flying back to Nevada. I wanted this moment to stop right now. It must never end. Ilio and I must remain like this forever. Time moved on. About 7:30, Shani yelled out the door. "Breakfast." The first change? The delicious smell of steak, eggs, fried potatoes, and coffee. My brew. It was heaven. The second change? The bed wasn't in the corner. Johnny's computer desk was. Timmy's stuff wasn't there either, nor our bags and clothes. Johnny came up to us. "I guess I was being a little extreme. Can you forgive me?" Ilio gave him a hug. "Already done." We sat down to a huge breakfast. I kept it light, because I still had to run a 5K race in a couple of hours. "What do you need to make your French fries?" Mrs. Smith said. "Potatoes, salt, chili powder, not the mild stuff. We use the hot." "While you're at the race, we'll get things prepared here," Neilani said. "What do you mean?" I took a huge sip of coffee. It was the best. "For the barbecue, of course. You're in charge of French fries," Grammy said. Pouring a huge pile of fried potatoes from the frying pan to a serving plate, Mrs. Smith passed the plate around the table. "We're having a barbecue in honor of it being Danny's farewell. We thought we'd send him home in style. I was taking Danny surfing one last time this afternoon." Leilani took a portion of eggs. "Don't stress. I've already talked to Billy, and they are all coming over. And then we'll do some surfing. All of us. Family style. We'll need a whole beach." "Any excuse for a party," Shani said. And my entire day was planned. It sounded fun, and I would probably enjoy it as long as I forgot it was my last day.